Words that rhyme with joint. Writing songs is hard. So welcome to Gear Wizard TV. Say welcome to Gear Wizard TV. One more time. Welcome to Gear Wizard TV. Fuck it, let's light up.
Fuck it, let's light up indeed. Good evening, potheads, and welcome to another episode of Gear Wizard TV. As always, I am the Wizard, and joining me, the man who rolls my blunts and drives the van, JD.
Hello. Thank you, my friend. I'm happy to be here. And as always, there's just one question that's first and foremost on my mind. What are you smoking tonight?
What am I smoking? That's an excellent question. Tonight, we got something kind of special for you. My kidding, they're all special. I actually have a slide, though, for this one. Cereal milk. And once again, this is from my favorite grower, the Bushy Beard guys. Cereal milk. I love their labeling here because putting the terpenes up there for us. And you'll notice this week we have. Come on, you can say it.
Caryophyllene.
Caryophyllene. That is, well, is that the right pronunciation? We're going to talk about that. It's problematic.
Does this taste like cereal milk?
A little bit. It is. It's definitely got a vanilla flavor to it. It smokes a little creamy. I'm not sure about the hint of pine adding to the cereal milkiness, but it's a good name, and it's definitely frosty.
It is a good name, and it's also got a word that I don't think I've ever seen before on a weed description, and that is antifungal.
Antifungal.
So this will elevate my mood, help with my ever-present depression, and also if I have athlete's foot.
Only if you apply it topically.
Ah.
Which, believe it or not, a lot of people do. Oh, before we move on, there's another special thing about this tonight. I don't know if you can see that. What does that look like to you?
That looks like a very thin, symmetrical blunt, kind of.
It looks like tobacco.
Yeah, we'll say that. Long cigarette. It's like a Virginia Slim, a brown Virginia Slim.
It tastes like tobacco. It has that little tingle on the lips, like tobacco. I swear to God, this is the closest thing to a true tobacco leaf blunt that I have had since I quit tobacco.
But it's not tobacco.
But it's not tobacco. What do you think it is?
Well, if it looks like tobacco, and it smells like tobacco, and it smokes like tobacco, and it's not tobacco, I'm going to say that it is... I have no idea. I thought I was going to go somewhere with that. I had a joke.
I was prepared.
Yeah.
I was prepared to be amazed and or amused.
Well, you were neither.
Black tea.
Black tea, okay.
It's made out of black tea with a little bit of, it says here, chamomile and cacao. Cacao. Which I'm not 100% sure what it is, but it's real fun to say.
Has something to do, maybe, unless my brain just did a funny thing where it conflated these two things, but I think it has something to do with the cocoa plant.
So did I.
Were we both wrong about this?
I don't know.
Well,
yes.
The ability. Cacao.
It's similar to cocoa powder. They are not the same thing, but they are close.
I see that. And it's
which
one of those
which is
words.
where I have had it. I think is an alternative chocolate.
It's one of those words that for a long time, many years ago, but at some point, I think that I used to see that word and just think that it was like an alternate spelling of cocoa. If I could
That's
admit
what
such a
Big
thing.
Cacao wants you to think.
That's right. Cacao. It really is a fun. I don't think I've ever said that word this many times in my entire life because I've said it so far
Cacao.
tonight. Cacao. Cacao.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
Sounds
So a
like
hint of cacao, some black tea.
lots and lots of black tea.
Nice.
But yeah, it's the closest thing to a tobacco leaf I've ever had. And it is equally hard to make stick. There's so much spit involved in most blunts. Takes a lot of spit to close them up.
I'm
Or
staring.
maybe I'm just not doing it right.
No, I think the spit is it's there with blunts. But caryophyllene, it says that it helps with all things that I'm suffering from: insomnia, inflammation, pain, and muscle spasms. Those are like, just those are like that's like my friends list right there. Those are my constant companions through life. So how much does it really help with those things? A lot?
A lot.
Huh.
And we're going to talk a lot more about caryophyllene or caryophyllene or
Or caryophyllene.
there's a lot of
Caryophyllene.
ways to say it. Which one's right? Wait and see. The answers might surprise you.
They're blowing in the wind.
How many times?
How
Do you ever
many
hear
times?
the Dewey Cox from Walk Hard? One of his songs in the movie is a very Bob Dylan-esque song. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I remember the movie coming out, and it's like a fake biography, right? Like a
Very, very
biopic.
closely styled on Johnny Cash.
Okay, I did not see it, but I remember the trailer. I remember wanting to see it, and then it just was one of those movies that just.
And yeah, it goes through his career. And so every little part of his career, he does a song that's kind of representative of that era. And he's in the 60s. And I won't do the whole thing, but it's mailboxes drip like lampposts on the twisted birth canal of the Coliseum.
Everyone does a Dylan, but that wasn't half bad. Even if that wasn't really a Dylan, that was like a
That was a Dewey Cox
Dewey Cox
doing Dylan.
doing Dylan, right?
Yeah. So I'm doing John C. Riley, doing Dewey Cox, doing Bob Dylan.
Sounding a little bit like Tom Petty.
Most likely.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any of it well.
That's all right.
But I'm high, and that's worth something.
That's worth everything around here.
So yeah, cereal milk.
So what have you been up to out there in God's country of Vermont?
I'm glad you asked. So this weekend, my lovely partner found a new dispensary had opened up just up the road in Bradford. Probably 30 minutes or so. Not a bad little drive. And she knows I love to go to dispensaries. Like, I don't have to need weed.
Right.
I want to go to every dispensary I can go to. I will take a day and drive to 3 or 4 dispensaries just for fun.
It still has that magical feeling, doesn't it?
Every one of them is different too.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's this one going to be like? And then the menu, and what are they going to have? And of course, you can't leave without buying something.
Right.
That's just rude. So I always have to buy at least a pre-roll. Usually, you can talk me into a full eighth, though. But I digress. So we head up to Bradford, And this might be the smallest dispensary I've ever been to, space wise. Been a few. I could almost name them all. There's the I can't remember the name of it, the witchy one that is in. Of course, now I'm going to forget the name of the city.
Salem, Massachusetts.
No, but it's close. It's the city in Vermont that is basically the center of the New England pagan movement. Like it's full of pagans. It's crazy. They come from all over the Northeast to campouts and things. pagan things. I know. A friend of mine is involved. But anyway, Bethel. That's it. Bethel, Vermont.
Is it Llewellyn? Oh, Bethel. Okay.
So there was a little, and it was called something like the Witch's Den. I don't remember exactly, but uh, because she was a witch for real. Uh, Very tiny. And then there's one in Colorado in Nederland with a D. Nederland, Colorado, which is up in the foothills of the Rockies. It's about, I don't know, 8,500, 99,000 feet, right up above Boulder. And there's a very tiny one there. Uh, this one might have been smaller than that, though. It was like just one little room, really nicely decorated. They had albums, and I was kind of disappointed when I realized it was display and not, oh, you can buy these albums. Because I was going to buy one. It had the, I don't know if you remember the animated Hobbit movie.
Rankin Bass.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
the Rankin Bass went. She had the soundtrack,
Nice.
and like I would have bought that. And then she had Cheech and Chong's Big Bamboo on display, and I would have bought that. But then there was a whole rack. But alas, they're very tiny, really nice. Uh, Nobody was there when we got there. And by the time I decided what I wanted, there was a line out the door, which granted was not that many people because it was so tiny, but out the second door. So they were doing a pretty good business. We're driving home, and I've got me a nice little jar of weed and some stickers because you got to grab stickers. And we took a different route on the way home. And because we had gone up on the interstate, we came down on one of the back roads, and we went through Fairleigh, which is about 15 miles from our house, maybe 20. Fairleigh is a much bigger town than where I live, but it is still pretty small, very rural. And we drove by this building that had been empty for a while and it had big signs out front that said, now open. I couldn't tell what it was. She just kept driving. Like, I wonder what that was. I said, we're not doing anything. You could turn around. And normally she's very loath to turn around. But this place had looked cute. I think that's what got her. So we turn around, we whip up, and as soon as we get in the parking lot, I realize this is a dispensary.
Oh.
So it's brand new. They had just opened the previous Wednesday, and it was the cutest little rural dispensary I may have ever gone into. Uh, I didn't really get a huge chance to talk to them, but I feel like the three women that were in there are probably the owners. I know one of them had done the decorating just from talking to her a little bit. But I think they were the owners. Really, really sweet. Their back wall was all albums in a nice little coincidence for the day. But it was a much bigger room, open and airy. They had some really nice decorations. As far as like display cases, one of the display cases looks like a VW van. If I had planned on talking about it, I would have had a picture.
Nice.
And we bought some weed there. Including I bought an infused Pre-roll.
Is Vermont a state where, in order to go into a dispensary, somebody outside the dispensary has to check your ID and then they buzz you in, or can you just open up the door and walk in?
Every place does it differently to a certain extent, but they definitely check your ID coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I only go to one dispensary where you have to be buzzed in, but they don't check your ID till you're inside.
Okay.
But they keep the door locked and you have to buzz in. But like both of these were so small that no, you just walked in and there's somebody standing at the door. And that's very typical. There'll be a table, somebody at the door, oftentimes with an electronic ID checker, but not always.
Right.
So neither of these places had that.
And I know we've talked about this before, not on the air, but I can't really even remember what your answer was. What is your, dispensaries come in all different shapes and sizes. You get like some dispensaries that feel like the Apple store. You go in and you're like, in the future and everything is on. They turn the monitor towards you and scroll through the menus. And then there's other dispensaries. This one that you're describing right now sounds like it probably doesn't have anything like that, and it's just kind of like almost like a general store vibe to it. What's your favorite type of dispensary?
Man, that's hard
I was gonna
because
say
there's a
if
lot.
you have a favorite, right?
I have a lot of favorites. I think probably more than anything is the few that I don't like, because I think there's something to love in all of them.
Mhm.
Uh,
Except for
the closer it is to the Apple Store,
ah,
the less comfortable I am.
mhm.
And I try to understand that if we want this to be legal and we want it to be accepted, uh, there's a certain element of the population that has to buy in as well.
Right.
And and I think it's okay that they have their place to shop. I also I like to look at it this way. I don't want those people necessarily where I shop.
Fair.
Nothing against them,
Right.
but we're
But
all a little bit tribal, and
mhm.
that's okay. Like don't harsh my vibe.
No, yeah, and brand loyalty is a thing. I mean, ask somebody what kind of cell phone they have, and if you tell them that they're wrong, they might punch you.
Yeah.
So it's yeah,
So no, the places that feel very sterile, uh, overly, I want to say overly produced, and that's not the right word. But
no, but I in those places, to your point, I think are completely designed to make people like my mother. My mother had a health issue. I forget what it was. She's old, unfortunately. She has a lot of things going on, but a doctor recommended CBD and low level THC something to her. My mother is close to a teetotaler, and in her 70 some odd years of life, she's maybe had a couple dozen drinks, and I think she said that she might have smoked pot once in the 60s at school. But, so the place that you're describing, it's for people like her. It's for people who, oh my God, marijuana. And they associate it with all sorts of negative things. And those places are designed for people like that to walk in and feel like, oh my goodness, you
and
know,
then you have the ones that are designed for the I want the luxury experience.
right.
I want the luxury experience,
Yeah. Like
please.
I'll pay more for this luxury experience.
And sometimes those are fun. I mean, I like going to them just to kind of see what the experience is like,
Uh,
and sometimes they have really cool shit. Like in a bigger state, that's where you're going to go in and find. We went to one in Boston where they had little dog walker pre-rolls,
uh,
and they all had a little rubber tip in the mouthpiece, so that nothing would get in there until you were ready to smoke it.
Huh.
And it was color coded to the different joints. They had different flavors.
Mhm.
And so they got this little color coded tip, and it's fucking dog walker, dude. When I
Right.
tell you this, ceramic tip, ceramic tip on a dog walker, insane, and awesome in a way. Like they were fun to smoke. I liked them. It felt kind of like flying in first class because you got accidentally bumped.
Which is a great feeling, by the way.
Oh, dude, yeah, that happened in Norway. Uh, or
Did it
coming
really?
back from Norway, it did.
You flew first class back from Norway, the whole
From
flight?
Norway to Iceland. Uh,
How long is that? Like 20 minutes? I don't know.
no, it's a good 2 hours.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's a good 2 hours. And yeah, we got like we were getting ready to board. They're like, you can't board. You have to go talk to so and so. But no,
Sven.
I want to get on the plane. They go, oh, we have new boarding passes for you. This is in the front of the plane. And yeah, first class,
Nice.
gourmet meal. It was
Oh,
amazing.
I can't tell you the last time I had a meal on a plane.
Oh, and this was not like this was. I've gone to restaurants and not eaten this good.
Wow.
It was insane.
Nice.
Yeah, Iceland Air, so nice. But now anyway, we're back to dispensaries. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's fun sometimes. But I like the one where you go in and it it's a retail version almost of going to see your dealer.
Right.
I like there to be some wood. Give me some wood somewhere.
the
Uh, I want it to feel a little
lighting to
folksy.
be a little bit not, not the best lighting, right?
Maybe if the bud tender looks like they could work at Thundercloud Subs.
Okay.
I like that. Like
Nice regional reference there.
yeah. So if you,
Yeah.
if those of y'all that don't know, in Austin, uh, Thundercloud Subs is a really good sub restaurant. Like they make for fast food subs, they make a damn good sub.
Do.
But you almost have to be a freak to work there.
Mhm.
Like going there and seeing somebody who was not tatted and pierced and multicolored hair is going to be the exception in the best possible way, though. So yeah, that's what I like. And places in between can also be really cool. Like the one in Fairleigh had such a really cool feminine vibe.
Nice.
Like not girly, but
Right.
feminine and comfortable and like I would have liked to sit on the couch and smoked a joint, but of course you can't smoke a joint. But it was inviting
Right.
and I felt comfortable having a conversation because there was time. And there's not always time.
To me, the word comfortable is like the most important one. Like I want to go in and I want to feel comfortable and I want to ask questions and I want to chat. I want to just make chit chat. I don't know because it's to me. I don't live in a state where such things are legal, but my I live in Texas where it's 1962, and but my parents are still in Massachusetts. So when I go to Massachusetts to visit them, or when I go to I was in Chicago a couple of years ago. Anytime I'm in a state where it's legal, I like to go to different dispensaries, and I like to just like stay at least 10 or 15 minutes, at least, and just chat with people because we all like weed, and like where else are you gonna go where you're like I can just talk about weed to a stranger, and they're probably, hopefully, gonna know more than I do, or at least be as knowledgeable. And they like, yeah, it's fun. It still makes me happy every time.
When I lived in Boulder, uh, Boulder has a lot more medical dispensaries, or Colorado, than
Hmm.
Vermont. There's only 3 true medical dispensaries here.
What makes a
So
dispensary a true medical dispensary?
it's a different license. It's a different license. In a lot of states, they were there first as well.
Hmm.
There was a medical only. And so it is a different license. And like in Colorado, for a long time, you had to have separate buildings or at least separate rooms if you had both licenses. Like medical people went on this side, recreational people went on this side. The menu was different over here than it was over there in multiple ways. Uh,
Much
so
stronger?
no, the
No.
weed, honestly, a lot of times the weed on the rec side might be better. Uh, what
Hmm.
you could depend on the medical side was two things. Number one, most medical shops in Colorado would have some real medical weed, like
Hmm.
stuff that had some CBD in it. Uh, But two, your taxes were so much lower.
Okay. Well, that's a good
Yeah, your
benefit.
taxes went in Colorado, it was like from 18% to 8,
That's a
which is
18% tax.
yeah,
That's that
on the
sin
rec side.
tax, huh? Yeah.
On the rec side, you add everything up and yeah, it's a good 18%.
Wow.
And so on the med side, it was only 8%. And you could buy more at one time. On the rec side, it's an ounce. It's an ounce here as well.
Mhm.
But on the med side, you could buy 2 ounces.
That's
And
twice
if
as
you got a
much.
special card, you could buy like 6 or 7 ounces. It was crazy.
Was that like if you're dying of cancer? Like, is that what that is? And
There's a lot of chronic pain stuff and some. One of my friends has one for
Mhm.
his digestive issues, gastric stuff.
Where
So
you could
he
buy 7 ounces. Is it a day?
something
You
no
could buy that.
well at a purchase is technically like you could technically buy your max at dispensary A and walk
Yeah.
around the corner to dispensary B and buy your max. Just how many shops you wanted to go to.
Huh. Okay.
So there's loopholes.
Yeah. That sounds like.
But but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, he smokes probably a quarter to a half ounce a day because of his stomach
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah, he needs the high volume.
Sure.
But the med side has stronger edibles, at least
Mm,
in Colorado.
okay.
The rec side, you can only sell 5 milligrams a dose.
Right.
And on the
I think that's
med
in Massachusetts
side, it is how bad do you want your ride to be, motherfucker?
too. 150 milligrams. Let's do it.
All day you could find that. You could find stuff stronger even. But like you could buy, and oh God, it would be so good was the danger. Like at Thanksgiving,
Uh,
they had little individual pumpkin pies. That I'm not kidding. Take the weed out of it. It was
right.
one of the best pumpkin pies you ever ate.
That's criminal.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And it was 150 or 200
Yeah.
milligrams. So and me and edibles.
We should
That's
one week just take like 300 edibles, 300 milligrams each, and just try to do a show. No.
that's not gonna no that wouldn't end well.
Or begin well.
But honestly,
Or begin at all.
I haven't been to a med shop here at all because there's only
Because
3. It's a long way, and I
you get
can get
everything you need.
rec weed
Yeah.
closer and easier. Uh, and most places will give me a discount with my card,
Nice.
which is nice.
Did you have to get another card when you went to Vermont, or was it the same card?
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
the rules are different for one
Right.
thing. But yeah, they won't give me one in Colorado anymore because I don't live there, and
Right.
the shops won't take the Colorado one here. There's not many states that do reciprocity.
Hmm.
I believe Hawaii is one of the few.
That's probably because well, it's Hawaii. I don't know how many
Yeah,
people. Yeah. Right.
and
Like.
they want you to come visit.
Exactly. Yeah.
and
Their
buy some weed.
entire economy is tourism based. So they want you to spend money in any
I
way
hope all
possible.
the shops in Hawaii have Maui Wowie.
Or they've all just decided, like, no, we're not doing Maui Wowie because maybe it's not really Hawaiian. Maybe
But
what Maui Wowie
it's
is.
so good.
Yeah, it is good. That's a
So good.
classic. Maui Wowie is like one of those, like, even before weed had like names. Like we were talking about Maui Wowie in the 90s.
It was shit, my joint went out. It was truly, I think, one of the first names.
Yeah, one of the first designer
That
strains.
and but it wasn't. It was a landrace strain that just got a name.
Huh.
Maui Wowie Acapulco Gold.
Northern Lights.
I feel like that came later.
Really?
I could be wrong.
My memory only goes back so far. I really have to push it to go.
My
more than
memory
my
is
belief.
awesome. My retrieval system sucks.
So your memories are there in limbo. You just can't access them.
Show me a picture of something.
Yeah, same. Because my memory can be jogged. Like you could say to me, "Hey, remember when this happened all day long?" No, I have no idea. But if you show me a picture, and even just like I don't know, if you showed me like like an episode of like He-Man or whatever, like that would probably take me back, like seeing, and I'd like remember being 8 years old and like watching it as it happened. So
This is totally off topic, but
yes,
be
but
honest.
we like weed. Yeah.
Who's better? Who's the better villain? Skeletor or Moomra?
Oh, Skeletor.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
I feel like Mumra is just like a ripoff of Skeletor.
No, Moomra was so much better.
Well, it was definitely derivative. And so, maybe they improved upon what you didn't like. Wait, he wasn't as much of a coward as Skeletor? Is that why you liked him better?
I mean, I don't know. I like Skeletor. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. But Moomra just his evil was so much deeper.
Well, yeah, Skeletor's evil was like,
He was like the Joker.
you know, explaining like the cartoons that we grew up with in the 80s to my son who is Gen Alpha. Like I was like, you have to understand that every single cartoon that I grew up with was exactly the same thing. It was this collection of toys is going to fight this collection of toys. And the opening credits were always the same. They would end with like all the toys on one side chasing and like bashing against all the toys on, but that was it. They were just designed to sell, and there'd be 45 characters on each side so that you would go out and buy 90 action figures for every show. But Thundercats, Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and then all the other ones that came off of those and were copycats and whatnot. But yeah, that was it. It was, and most of the time the action figures came out first, and the
Definitely
cartoons were
He-Man.
just
Definitely
Transformers
He-Man.
too, I think.
Yeah, I think Transformers too,
Mm-hmm.
which I never watched. But
Good.
now I have recently revisited Thundercats and He-Man more than once,
Nice.
and Thundercats holds up for me
Yeah.
a lot better. I like He-Man. None of them are as good as the Herculoids
Oh my
of
God.
the 70s.
So you talk about memory, like you just like that was the one. Just to make sure that I'm thinking of, there were little blobs. There was like a little blob that
Yes.
was there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which were reminiscent of the what were they from the Little Abner comic strip years before?
Well, now
That's where they were from.
you're going before my time.
But yeah, that's information dump.
Yes. But all this stuff goes with weed, doesn't it? I mean,
It does.
yeah.
Speaking of an information dump, though,
Let's do it.
we should do this.
Let's get back to fighting about how to pronounce this word.
We absolutely had planned and promised to talk about terpenes again.
Terpenes. We need a terpenes theme song. You wrote the opening song. I'll write a terpenes theme song for next week.
Write me a terpenes theme song. But this time we're going to talk about a specific terpene, beta
Caryophyllene.
Caryophyllene is the one that we're going with.
Okay.
But we'll talk about the name. It turns out that was a whole rabbit hole itself. So the spicy terp, as I like to call it. Now,
Yeah.
I didn't know how to pronounce it. I wanted to say, and I still do, Caryophyllene. So I looked at a couple of how do you pronounce this websites where they have the typically robot voice pronouncing it, and they all disagreed. Although almost there was only one place I found, I don't remember where it was, but who said Caryophyllene.
Was it me?
No, like there was an online one.
Gotcha.
But I went to the dictionary. Turns out a lot of dictionaries don't do pronunciations anymore, including the OED. The Oxford English Dictionary did not have pronunciation. Maybe you have to pay for those. I didn't look. Merriam-Webster, though, says caryophyllene. No, caryophyllene. File, but it's an O, not off. So caryophyllene. And then Wikipedia said caryophyllene. So with the lower I instead of the higher I.
Between those two sources, I'm going to go with Merriam-Webster.
Yeah, that's what I said. So I'm still probably going to say caryophyllene multiple times during this presentation, though, because that's what my brain says it is.
Caryophyllene sounds like we're talking about like an Irish folk singer. Oh, caryophyllene. I'm not even going to try to offend everybody by doing an Irish accent, but
Oh, you make me laugh. So a lot of times when you see this on a menu or usually the reports will get it right, but a lot of places it'll just be caryophyllene. Caryophyllene. There we go. But it is technically beta caryophyllene. I'm just going with caryophyllene. Deal with it. Beta caryophyllene, which again you'll see one of these two ways. So does that mean there's an alpha caryophyllene? And there is. It's a minor terpene called humulene, and we might talk about it at some point down the road. But if you see just caryophyllene, it is technically beta, or they would call it humulene. I've never seen anybody call it alpha caryophyllene. And it smells like black pepper. It smells very woody. It smells very spicy. So anytime you've got some weed, this is a major terpene. It shows up in a lot of stuff, has a dominant. So if you smell, especially the spicy stuff, that smells like black pepper, it's probably the caryophyllene. Because black pepper has a lot of caryophyllene in it. And that's why black pepper smells the way it smells, is it's full of caryophyllene. But so are some other things. Lavender has it. It doesn't smell, of course, particularly spicy. But lavender has a lot of other oils that kind of override it. But when we start to think about what caryophyllene does, from the slide you saw earlier tonight, you might remember relaxing. So you get your lavender cloves. Those of you that like to smoke clove cigarettes in high school, this might have been what made you feel good. Hops. There's a lot of caryophyllene here. Also, though, hops, oddly enough, have a lot more alpha caryophyllene, the hubeline, is very dominant in hops. That's probably where you'll find the most of that one. But when you look at all the plants that have it, I think it's clear that cannabis has the most. I couldn't find a reference for cannabis indica, but the cannabis sativa, you can see, can go up to 37%.
Wow.
You'll find that a lot, though, in the more your hemp. The federally legal in the United States weed
Okay.
is where I've seen it that high.
Maybe that's the thing that I like the most about that federally
So,
legal weed.
yes,
That is a huge range, 3.8% to 37.5%.
3.8 is probably what you're more likely to see in the wild. Just a random wild cannabis plant. Although depending where you are, those will vary quite a bit themselves. But still, a decent amount in black pepper. And as a side note, you get a little rush of anxiety sometimes when you get too high, or you smoke the wrong kind of weed and you're feeling kind of stressed out, or even if it's not weed. For an acute thing like that, sometimes just taking a peppercorn out of the grinder, put it in your mouth and bite it. And that can release enough caryophyllene sometimes to take the edge off that anxiety.
Have you tried this?
Oh yeah, it works.
Huh.
Like it's not like magic where I bite the thing and everything's better.
Okay.
But instead of being it's like
Yeah.
it'll
you
take
down.
some edge.
Okay.
Not as much as smoking. Or maybe that's just me. Now, what makes it spicy? Well, not just the flavor. It's not just the odor. It is unique among the terpenes because it's the only terpene that we know of that will bind to the actual cannabinoid receptors where THC and CBD and CBG and our other cannabinoids bind. That's weird. It might be a cannabinoid. That's one of those. There's evidently a lot of gray in some of these things when you're just, it's a thing and you try to classify it. Well, is it A or B? It's a little both.
Yeah.
The body's weird, man. We're just doing our best to understand it. We know it binds to one receptor for sure, CB2, which is usually where CBD goes.
Mhm.
THC tends to go to CBD1, CB1, CBD, CB2 is a general rule, which we'll talk about more about that in a minute. But there's a place where this also binds, caryophyllene binds, that we think might be a new CBD or CB receptor, cannabinoid receptor. There's 2 or 3 that they think might be, and they're not sure. So is it CB3? Is it CB4? They don't know. It's new. So did I not? Oh, I didn't. But I didn't have a slide for this, but I do. I wanted to say on the cannabis. Now, you know what? We're going to talk about cannabinoid receptors later. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole tonight. It's fascinating. I went into it by accident. So what does caryophyllene do for us? And one thing I want you to remember is that when we say we think this is what it does for us, we're going back thousands of years that this has been used as folk medicine with cloves and lavender and even cannabis. But helping with anxiety and depression with or without a THC add-on to it and our entourage effect, I can attest to that. Black pepper has been used for that. Lavender has been used for that. It's good stuff. Relaxation, absolutely. It is very calming. Even when cereal milk has a lot of stuff in it that is very heady. It is very heady high. It's not a body high. But the caryophyllene takes that edge off where with a lot of sativas, especially, I can get kind of tweaky. And if you give me a sativa that has a lot of caryophyllene in it, I'm good. So, so what we were saying last week with sativa and indica, that's not the whole story, and you have to go a little deeper to know what's really going to happen. Pain relief, both as a local anesthetic, if you apply it topically in like a salve or a cream, but when you smoke it or eat it, it releases endorphins in the brain that are very similar to the endorphins that are released by morphine.
That is crazy.
So obviously, it's not going to be quite as potent, but it's not going to have any of the side effects that morphine has,
Of which
which is
there are many.
more than just the addiction.
Yes.
If the addiction's not enough, anti-inflammatory, and that's going to mean so much more than you think it does. But definitely, when you're talking things like arthritis, any sort of joint pain,
Yeah.
the anti-inflammatory stuff, it's not just going to make you feel better. It's going to the muscles, it's going to the joints, and it's reducing the inflammation.
Right.
Chemical process. It's not just how you feel. Although there's nothing wrong with how you feel. Alcohol addiction. And here, again, I could say, you smoke weed instead of drinking, it makes your life better. But no, this is in mice. They have been doing studies that show mice actually stop drinking alcohol if you give them high doses of caryophyllene.
Where are they finding all these alcoholic mice?
Oh, they make them.
Don't answer that question.
First, you got to make
I
them
know.
alcoholic. That part's easy though. Bone health. It helps stave off the osteoporosis. It actually lowers bone loss, and in some cases has been shown to increase bone regeneration. But definitely, if you have something like osteoporosis, your bones can be delayed, so you can last a little bit longer. And then the antioxidant prevents or slows cell damage. And I was going to leave it at that, but I was like, if somebody asked me what an antioxidant is, I'm not 100% sure that I could have answered it
Same.
confidently.
So
So
is that the official? Because I just know antioxidants are the thing that we're supposed to have lots of, and they're superfoods, and they're in blueberries and things.
right.
I couldn't have told you what they do.
So as an educator, I guess I don't know, but that's what I'll blame it on. I couldn't leave it at that, and I said
Yeah.
I got to learn more about antioxidants. So here is why this matters. And short answer, cancer.
Yeah.
You want to not get cancer.
Yeah.
Antioxidants, but why? So antioxidants are like little attack guys. So this is like Rogue Squadron that you're sending out into your body, and it's looking for something called free radicals. And you probably heard that in an ad on TV. Like, helps combat more free radicals. Okay, what's that? Oh boy, this gets weird because now you're actually getting down to atoms. But the atoms in the cells, the atoms in the molecules that make up your cells, are constantly throwing off electrons because there's these other things floating around, these free radicals are like, give me some electrons. I want some electrons. And so they're taking electrons off your other cells, off the atoms in your other cells. And if you have too many of these free radicals, they're taking way too much of that, and it's causing your tissue to break down because the atoms are deteriorating. So now the molecules are deteriorating. And that's where cancer, we also think heart disease and diabetes, comes from your body breaking down because there's way too many free radicals in it. And there's two reasons that I could say this is going to help that. One, they believe that caryophyllene It's always going to be a chore. Caryophyllene is an antioxidant, so it is going out and joining in the fight and going, "Fuck you, free radicals, get out of here." But they also think that free radicals increase in your body when your body is what they call out of stasis because of stress and depression and trauma and things like that. And weed can certainly help with that, especially caryophyllene, which can help with the depression and the anxiety, which could be causing an increase in free radicals. And I'm not saying weed is medicine and it's going to make you not get cancer, but a lot of other people are.
You know who did say that? Caryophyllene, the great weed doctor.
The great weed doctor, Caryophyllene. Nathan Begora. Sorry, my background is Scottish. I can't do that. But yeah, a lot of people are saying that, and doctors are starting to think this. And the way I look at it, even if it isn't,
Mhm.
it's the most fun medicine I've ever taken.
Sure. Even if it isn't prolonging life, it is improving the quality of life.
Making life a little better.
That's it. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it does buy weed. Amen.
So where could you find some caryophyllene? And folks, I want to say again, this is why we need marijuana to be legal. We need cannabis to be legal, excuse me. I'm working on that. We need cannabis to be legal because when it's not legal and you have to buy it on the black market, you have to take what you can get. And it may not always be what you need. In a legal state, I can track down what has what I'm looking for. I can find the medicine that works for me. And I think that's important. And it's not just about, ooh, look, we got a lot of cool names, but these strains, when I see them, I know that I'm going to get my medicine. Girl Scout cookies, we're not allowed to call it that anymore legally. Well, no, they're not. Nobody can tell me. Girl Scout cookies. Yeah, a lot of caryophyllene. Do you know they actually got sued?
By the Girl Scouts of America?
Yes, the Girl Scouts of America sued
Who got sued?
the breeder.
Oh, okay.
The breeder of Girl Scout cookies.
And I love all these names. I do have to. It is kind of funny though that we're trying to make weed legal everywhere. We want it to be taken seriously, but then it does have names like Death Star and Original Glue.
People who grow irises do the same thing.
Yeah.
People who grow irises do the same. My aunt is super into irises. And she has 500 and they're all different and they all have goofy names. And people love to breed a new iris because then they get to give it a goofy name. So, yeah.
And really,
what
would be a better name as well? I mean, if it had like, what else would we be calling them? I don't know. Green spiky number 6.
And I'll tell you this: people who breed, especially people who are into making new strains, are nerdy motherfuckers.
Well, yeah, with names like
nerdy
Death
motherfuckers.
Star and Master Kush.
So of course. But Bubba Kush, a lot of the Kushes, Sour Diesel, Chemdog, Jack Herrera is what I wanted to really point out here, because that's a sativa.
Yeah, old friend of mine.
And it's a very calming boat.
Yeah.
It is very heady, but it is very calming. It's in my top 3. It's in my top 3 strains. Definitely of the sativa line. So yeah, these. But it's in so much these days. And we're going to talk at some point about some different ways you can track down what terpenes are going to be and what strains as the market evolves. There's some things that are making that easier. But that will be another episode. And I think, yeah, that was Caryophyllene.
All right, and I think if you don't have anything else that's pressing that you're dying to talk about, I think it might be time to change your bong water.
I think it is time to change the bong water.
All right, well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. And as long as we can remember our login info, we'll see you next week right here on Gear Wizard TV.
And one of these days, I'm going to come up with a way to sign out of here.
We'll see you next week, everybody.
Bye.